special presentational character of our visual experiences, because that makes them quite different from things like beliefs and desires. Well, how so? Well, one is they have to be conscious, and philosophers have made so much out of these oddball cases where you have unconscious visual experiences. Blind sight is the favorite example, but there are lots of other cases as well. Of course, there are cases where you have perceptual intentionality of which you are unconscious. And a blind sight, as I said, is the most famous example of this. But they're distinctly odd. I mean, it's true there are cases like that, but you couldn't live your life with unconscious perceptual intentionality. Nobody ever ran a downhill ski race or drove from Prague to Vienna while being totally unconscious. You just can't do it. I mean, some of these drivers you wonder, but in fact you can't do it. You've got to be conscious. So the normal case requires consciousness, and the cases that receive so much attention, I think, are distinctly odd. We have to account for them, but they're not paradigmatic. Okay, now it is a consequence of the presentation, and this is important, that the visual experience is non-detachable from the conditions of satisfaction. Now, this is an amazing fact. I do have these conscious perceptual experiences, and they have conditions of satisfaction, but you can't detach them and shuffle them around. You can't move them around the way you can with pictures or words or even beliefs or desires or fantasies. I can sit here and have any desire I want or any belief I want, but when it comes to looking at my hand in point blank range in broad daylight, it's not up to me. I can't detach the experience from the condition of satisfaction. Well, what about the hallucination case? The point I'm making now is a phenomenological point, and that is, even in the hallucination case, you experience the hallucination as non-detachable from the condition of satisfaction. If it really is indistinguishable from actually seeing the object, then you have to take yourself as seeing the object then and there. Now that's a crucial point, and we're going to come back to it, but I'm working out some of these further consequences. Well, of course, the presentations will be causally self-referential or self-reflexive, and that just means that you have to take it as part of the character of the visual experience, that if it's satisfied, it has to be caused by the object or state of affairs that you take yourself to be seeing. I've already explained that, so I won't go into detail. But now we get to a remarkable feature, and that is all of our perceptual experiences are indexical. There's a sense in which they all have exactly the same formal conditions of satisfaction. Whenever you see something, the conditions of satisfaction are always, this is happening right here and now. See, if I close my eyes and try to fantasize giving a lecture in Berkeley, okay, then I can change my mind or do something. But right now, I have this experience, and the experience always has the same, for any experience, always has the same condition of satisfaction. This object exists here and now. This event is occurring here and now. Roland Barthes, the French, I guess he's a post-structuralist, made an interesting point about photography in his Camera Lucida. He says, photographs always have the same conditions of satisfaction. He used a Husserlian jargon, noema, but it means the same thing. Barthes says, photographs always have the same condition of satisfaction. This event actually occurred. And by the way, it's interesting to see how, now that you can cheat with photographs, we're gradually losing that assumption. But the standard presupposition with photographs, this is why there's seems to be something especially dishonest about doctoring a photograph, is that the condition of satisfaction are, this event actually occurred. Well, in the case of visual experiences, we can apply that. The condition of satisfaction of a visual experience is always exactly the same. This event is occurring right here and now. And you have that feeling even if you know star you're seeing died millions of years ago. You're seeing it as if it were there right here and now. So there's a formal feature of our perceptual experience that is a direct consequence of their presentationality and non-detachability. Their conditions of satisfaction are indexical. They're tied to the immediate present and the immediate spatial location. Okay, so this indexicality I'm claiming is a consequence of the presentational character. Now there's another feature, and that is perceptual experiences have a kind of continuousness. So, for example, we're so impressed by sentences, but sentences have this wonderful discreteness. One sentence stops and another sentence begins. But with our perceptual experience, it is a continuous flow throughout your waking life. You can't, you don't get an inner syntactical structure to the perceptual experience, which is analogous to the syntactical structure of sentences, where you have a noun phrase, verb phrase structure and a beginning and an end. Rather, you get a continuous flow of the visual experience, and such breakups as you get are breakups in the real world. There's a distinction between one object and another, and that leads to the seventh feature, which distinguishes the perceptual experience from other forms of intentionality, and that is, in the case of perceptual experience, you get a kind of determinacy. Now, let me explain that notion. In the case of the perceptual experience, you don't just get a representation that leaves a slack in how the real world is, but the perceptual experience gives you what you take to be, from the character of the perceptual experience, a direct presentation of the real world. See, if I know that Sally has brown hair, then, well, there are lots of different things that could satisfy that. But if I actually see her right here and now, then it's a specific shade of brown. It's a specific perceptual texture to the experience. And the best analog here is Leibniz. Remember, Leibniz said, reality is that which is totally determinate. In the real world, all the details are filled in. If I tell you a story, I invent a story and I say, well, it was this, I met this woman, and you ask me, was she Russian? Well, that wasn't part of the story. I mean, the law of, it's no good saying, yeah, but law of excluded middle, was she Russian or not? Well, you know, that's not part of the story. The law of excluded middle doesn't apply. But where it's a real world is concerned, yes, the law of excluded middle applies, because we're dealing with the actual reality and not with representations. Now, the point about visual experience is that it gives you, the phenomenology of it is as of direct access to reality. It has a kind of determinacy which we take the real world itself to have, and that means it's distinct from typical forms of perception. I mean, typical other forms of intentionality, such as representational cases where you have things like beliefs and desires. What I'm trying to express here, and it's a difficult idea and I'm not sure I'm getting it across, is that our perceptual experiences are peculiar among our intentional phenomena because they give us direct, immediate, perceptual, indexical access to objects and states of affairs in the world, and they present them with the determinacy that we take the objects and states of affairs themselves to have. Okay, now if we have all of that, then it seems to me we can answer the difficulties of our philosophical tradition. The tradition is based on the assumption that you can never perceive the real world. All you can ever perceive are your own experiences of the real world. All you can perceive are your own impressions and ideas. And in the case, how much time have I got? I'll talk for a few more minutes. Okay, another 5 minutes.
I mean, 15 minutes.
Okay, I won't go on for 15. The jet lag will start to kick in very shortly. But in any case, what I've tried to explain to you so far is that the